It was after I did Coach Carter, and I saw Eddie Murphy and Johnny Gill tongue kissing,
Oh.
and this is like out in public. So a lot of the things that y'all think they do.
They're doing things behind closed doors like Eddie Murphy, who knows me very well. You know? How well? Very well. You know? And what hurts me about him is, if anyone was after this meeting, and it will be filmed, they asked me, what do you know about Eddie Murphy? I'm not interested in destroying his life. I'm more interested in destroying his wife's life.
Y'all, Nicole Murphy is still out here being salty over Eddie Murphy, and now it's being reposted that Nicole has been sitting on some receipts about Eddie's very nasty time in the 9 South, including her baby daddy's alleged relationship with Puff Daddy. People have been saying for years how much of a big playboy Eddie Murphy was, and there's word about how he was all around Hollywood, attending all sorts of crazy parties. Well, it turns out that they didn't even know the half of it, and Nicole Murphy is finally revealing everything she had to put up with until she just couldn't take it no more and wanted out. It turns out that Eddie Murphy was out almost every night, not just partying, but allegedly getting down with some other male celebrities and transgender escorts, and would go as far as even soliciting them for himself right on the streets of Tees. I've Hollywood, but is there really any truth to this, or is she just being a bitter ex-wife? Well, we're going to get into it now. I ain't going to lie. When Nicole and Eddie Murphy announced that they were going to get a divorce back in 2005, it was a bit of a shocker because it did seem that they were in it for the long haul, mind you. They met back in 1988 and began dating almost as soon as they laid eyes on each other. Before long, they moved in together, and their daughter Bria was even born before they got married in 1993. But then Hollywood has always been a dog eats dog type of place, and even though it seemed like they were a classic Hollywood couple, they eventually filed for divorce in 2005, stating that there were irreconcilable differences. The two of them said that their lifestyles were just that incompatible at that point, and there was nothing else they could do but go their separate ways, and during that time that they were apart, Nicole received a lot of criticism since it appeared that she was only wanting his money. She received a $15 million settlement from him, but she lost it all in a scam that made her the subject of media attention after she was seen kissing a very married man. Eddie Murphy and Antoine Fuqua discussed the entire matter, claiming that Nicole's actions embarrassed her family. However, Nicole wasn't content to just listen to people talk negatively about her. So for a while, she was given tidbits about why her marriage to Eddie ended and why she decided to maintain her last name in spite of their disagreement.
I always said I would drop Murphy if I get remarried. And I always get asked that question, how come you still have Murphy? Blah, 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 blah. I'm like, listen, I was married to that man for years, okay? I earned my name. I deserve my name. I have 5 children with that name. I didn't see any harm in keeping my last.
According to Nicole's book, A Song for You, My Life with Whitney Houston, there were still allegedly some very shady things going on with Eddie, particularly between him and his several relationships that she kept hidden. Eddie has always been a bit of a party animal, as evidenced by his song in which he admitted that he liked to party constantly and that he could never really stay with one woman for very long before getting bored and leaving. Robin Crawford went into some detail about how Eddie and Whitney's relationship played out. One minute he was chasing her, and the next minute he was over it and turned around to be very manipulative and unkind. Robin even said in her book that Eddie would go out of his way to allegedly make fun of Whitney's hair and wig, and would throw jabs at her until they eventually went their separate ways. Even after Nicole, Eddie didn't stop dogging women, and reportedly did the same thing to Melb, where he went after her and even went to her father to ask for her hand in marriage. Then he left her hanging publicly and denied that their daughter was his. That was very messy, especially with the irony of it being that his daughter was born on his birthday and, according to Nicole, they. The same pattern he repeated in his relationship with Whitney and Melb is the same way that he was moving when he was with her. And there have been several theories that Eddie was simply with women because he wanted to cover up what? Or who he was really into, if you know what I mean, because there have been plenty of rumors about how Eddie be getting down both in and out of Hollywood parties. In 1997, Eddie was involved in a scandal that nearly buried his whole career when he was pulled over by police. Late one night in West Hollywood was supposed to be a routine stop, but guess who was in the car with him? A 20-year-old transgender escort named Ada Stone Shalimar Suli. Now, Eddie claimed that he was only trying to help someone out and that he was being a good Samaritan, just offering her a ride. He claimed to have gone out to find something to read when he encountered a person on Santa Monica Boulevard in Los Angeles and had no notion that she was transgender and that I'm not homosexual when the police questioned him more and discovered that Nicole and the children were out of state when he picked her up at 4:00 a.m.
I'm not gay, and I'm not, and that's what's weird about this, to have your sexuality question and your moral fiber question and all that, when all I was doing was trying to be nice to somebody.
Eddie Murphy tells E.T. that his wife and children were out of town, says he wanted something to read and went to a late-night newsstand. He stopped here and picked up the suspected transsexual at 4:45 in the morning. He says he thought he was aiding a distraught woman.
Looks like a pretty Hawaiian girl in the corner crying. It looks like she was crying. She goes, oh, Eddie Murphy. She noticed him at the light. She recognized Eddie Murphy. Oh, my God. So I go, what are you doing? Why are you out here working the streets so late? She goes, oh, I'm on my way home. Can you give me a ride home?
Police tailed them for 2 miles before pulling him over.
Now, Eddie did this when he was about 4 years into his marriage to Nicole. What are the chances that he just happened to accept the escort as a courtesy? Even though Eddie managed to escape the scandal unscathed, everything came back to haunt him when Octavia St. Laurent called him out once more. Octavia has never held back when speaking her mind and was extremely proud of being a transgender woman. When she called out Eddie, child, she shouted out his name.
Is being run by perverted undercover fags that run around talking about how straight they are. You got big-time celebrities that go around in their cars picking up transvestites, having sex with them, and then getting on national TV making fun of them. Everything you do in life is like a boomerang. When you throw it, it eventually comes back.
October, she said that she wasn't satisfied with Eddie's treatment of the transgender ladies he had been seeing, implying that he was embarrassed and wished to conceal their relationship. Eddie and she apparently dated for a while.
Women that they're married to wouldn't believe a word you said about them. And these are the reason why we have to start speaking out. Because these men who are famous or straight or perceived to be these macho guys are coming out behind their wives, their children, having oral sex, being the women.
Now, Eddie didn't actively engage with Octavia, but she had stoked people's attention enough to get folks talking, and where there's smoke, there's fire after. Octavia spoke out, words started going around that Eddie was a known chaser and a lot of verve. Transgender women in the industry at that time had allegedly been with him even though he publicly said otherwise. There was also something about how he allegedly liked wearing sexy lingerie behind closed doors, which rubbed a lot of people the wrong way because he'd then get on TV and make fun of trans and gay people, talking about how disgusting they were. It wasn't just the sex workers that Eddie was keeping around him, because some of the so-called male industry friends that he moved around with were also people he got intimate with regularly. And one of them just so happened to allegedly be R&B singer Johnny Gill. Now, rumors about Eddie and Johnny being an item go way back to 2005 after a breakup. Johnny Gill's ex-girlfriend opened up, saying that the reason she ultimately walked away was because she found Johnny's relationship with Eddie a bit weird. She also added, Johnny and Eddie have always been very close friends, but I could not compete with their relationship. It was strange. I can't even explain it. According to some sources, Johnny was actually living in a guest house on Eddie. Murphy's property at the time, and it was speculated that perhaps one of the reasons Nicole Murphy had to leave was because she had grown weary of dealing with both of them and their strange relationship. However, it turns out that these rumors may actually have some truth to them, because a male entertainer who frequently attended Diddy's parties revealed some shocking information that nobody was prepared for. Ever since Diddy's arrest, a lot of information about what went on behind closed doors in Hollywood has been coming out, and it has been anything but pretty. This escort named Flash essentially confirmed all the rumors that were circulating that Eddie and Johnny were actually a couple and that he had witnessed them becoming intimate at one of those parties.
Walking down the stairs, because I was just checking out, it was in the Hollywood Hills, so I was walking down the stairs and they were kissing at the bottom of the banister, like, and I'm like, damn, the nutty professor really is nutty. like he really is, like, and they were going at it, like, for real, like swallowing tongue.
Since Eddie has a long history of battling DL rumors, people have pointed out that it's no coincidence that his name has come up repeatedly. One user wrote, "Nothing surprises me about these celebrities anymore. Nothing surprises me about these. Black gay men either. Therefore, anything's possible. More power to them both." In all honesty, it's not difficult to believe this, because one thing we know for sure right now is that there are a lot of DL men in the industry who go out of their way to make it seem otherwise. Another said it might be true that Johnny Gill is actually residing in a guest house on Eddie Murphy's property in California. People had warned her about the download rumors years ago, and then another one really went there. None of this sounds unbelievable. People should just be themselves and not give a damn. But what do you guys think about this? Do you hear any rumors about Eddie Murphy back in the day? Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. And don't you dare click off without hitting that like button. Make sure to subscribe as well, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye, buddies.